Sorry. Okay, anyways, now that everyone's awake. We have to flip things a little bit really quickly. We're going to do some general announcements first. So people that have signed up for Honors Contract, two things. You got to come see me so we can actually have you signed up. And if you're not signed up, come see me. Second thing is we're not doing an honors contract. It's actually an independent study, which is we have to clarify that it's like work outside the classroom. We have to write a little project description, and then we have to turn that in on that form to Dr. Klein and Kelly, so that they actually know what you're doing and what I'm saying is a deliverable that I'll grade. And as long as we're clear on that, they're going to approve every single one of them. So we just got to do it the right way. I unfortunately forgot to send them an email to warn them you're all coming. And so they thought you're trying to get research credits inside of a classroom, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, I know, that's not, crap, I forgot to send the email. So, my bad. So we'll fix that up afterwards. And then Steve had a few comments about design task and like everything that you did wrong. He's going to let you go through the.
So in general, the design tasks were pretty good from everyone. I was lenient on the formatting just because everyone was sort of off, but the design task sort of template, just copy and paste all your answers into that one. So it's easier to get to do the same thing for capstone in an hour next year, so it's just good practice. I think some teams didn't do the incursion review for the 5 state-of-the-art ones that you had to do. This is a design task. I took out some points for that, but for the most part, it was all pretty good. And then I'll leave it a little bit, but later on, when you guys divide up and start doing the assignment for today, teams 11 through 14 will come and get a box, and you'll start cutting out the paper and gluing if you have time. Jeff will go over that, and then teams 15 through 17, the first half of the day you'll be working on your personal project, and then the second half of the day you'll do some SolidWorks training. And I'll be back to go work you guys with that.
Or casting or other things. And
yeah, we're going to talk to you.
Yeah.
You'll see this guy here in the blue, and then one team member goes with him, another team member goes with Ryan in the back in red, and then some people play with sculptures on the computer.
What am I supposed to do?
We're good.
Okay, all right. Okay, so going back to what we're doing today, today's going to be hopefully a really quick lecture. We're going to start the quality control building portion of the class. This is where you're going to be building a copy of a game that I created. I got copyright permission from the creators and the owners of the game to make an expansion, and you guys as a team are going to make a copy of that. We're sorting out how the quality control is going to be done. We'll speak to you a little bit more about that next week. But you're basically will do a self-evaluation of what you built. If there's any errors with the materials that we provide you, you put that down as part of your quality control. You're not production on all the components, so if a component sucks, it was probably Brian's fault. Sorry, dude. You'll have a comment field where you can note that. But when you assemble it, if something you did screwed it up, put it down there, and you'll note that I made a boo-boo. This is just like in industry, the same type of problems you face in industry. Then you guys will switch games with another team or just rotate them around the lab, and you're going to assess the other team. So you guys will kind of divide up the game amongst your teammates and quality control each portion of it that you selected. And you'll be putting your names next to them so we know who did what. So you'll get graded on your build and your quality controlling. The rotations, if you guys haven't had a chance to download some of the freewares like GIMP or Sculptris, go ahead and get those downloaded at some point. You'll be using them. If you have, I think we have Photoshop under My Apps or whatever. You guys have access to Photoshop this semester. SolidWorks, I think, too. Or no, wait, Photoshop we had to pay for, which we didn't have the budget for. It was something like $500 a student or something like that. It's kind of like engineering fees.
If you need Photoshop, it's given to you in the Computer Commons and some other places. I don't know if you need it or not, but we can't.
Yeah, I think GIMP is just as good. Actually, if some people prefer it. And then, constructing the game, you'll actually start to use the tools. We're not going to just sit there and say, here, it's demoed. You're going to get to play with the tools. And today we're going to have a little bit of a lecture, but we'll get to it pretty quickly. And then your DT2 has been assigned. This is about your concept of your game. This is kind of like your first alpha version of it. Throw down ideas and really give it some alternative designs. What we're looking for is basically not the final box, but specifications. What are going to be some of your selling points? In this case, Michael Coe, who you guys get to meet, I think on October 30. Is that like a Friday? I think it is, whatever the Friday is. Michael Coe, the game producer, is going to be here. This is a guy that's gone from being a chef working full-time to working part-time as a chef and moonlighting as a game developer to a full realization there's no money in game development, that game producing is actually where the money's at. And he's now the head of $1 million company, and he produced this with Scott Alms. The starting point they had with this game was specifications of size and weight. They wanted to produce a game that was, you see the dimensions, fits inside of a small flat rate shipping box, and the reason for it was that anyone in the world can get a copy of this game for $6 shipping. They wanted a flat rate so that people didn't get screwed. This guy had been watching Kickstarters and people in Australia and New Zealand paying more than the game to get the game just in shipping. So he decided he was going to do something based around size. Pocket games, really low cost. Then the other criteria he had was weight. It was really cool how they do their stretch goals. If you're not familiar with Kickstarter, anyone here not familiar with Kickstarter or Indiegogo? Okay, it's just real simple that they put something out there and then more money comes in, they make stretch goals. Well, he has to factor in the weight of the stretch goals all the way to the end of a Kickstarter that come under 13 ounces. So it's really challenging. It's kind of fun to watch. It's got a lot of stuff in it, but what he puts on there is a whole bunch of specifications, and so I'll let you read them. The big thing that I always like is, why was it age 13 plus? Anyone have an idea? I know it means 13 or older. Joseph. What is it? Yeah, it's choking hazard for under, but he doesn't want to obstruct children from playing it. It's part of the reason. There's actually another reason too. It goes in line with that. There's a series of tests that you have to run and be certified that you're not a choking hazard, it's safe for children under a certain age or at a certain range. It's kind of exactly like what we do in medical devices. We actually have FDA approval you got to do. And so do you think most people do a 510K or a PMA or the new 518Ks right away? What do most companies do? You ever hear of CE marks? They go to Europe and get all their testing done over there. And the FDA stipulates we do not look at this data. We will never look at that CE mark. We don't hold it against a company that has this or not. We totally ignore the CE mark. But everyone's doing it now because it's a cheaper, faster way to get to FDA approval, because you'll have a whole bunch of people data. You guys familiar with the difference between FDA and CE mark? I won't go into it. You probably, okay. But it's a little cheat they do. So determining specifications, how many people have not had BME 300? Okay, so you guys haven't done House of Quality or heard of what that is yet, or Needs Metrics Matrix? Anyone that's done one yet? Yeah, a little bit of cringing. Yeah, sorry, dude. They're a little complicated, but they're very, very useful tools when you're done with them. It's actually, that might be your gamma or your beta version, I would say. The alpha version I would recommend is a blue ocean diagram. I call it a blue sky diagram because the premise is that the rest of the world is in the Red Sea of sharks and just bloody because everyone's beating each other up in there. And what you want to do is you want to go to the blue ocean. Well, I scuba dive, I've dove with sharks. I'd rather just be in the sky if there's sharks in the water. So I call it the blue sky diagram. What it is it's a way, anyone here business minor or got someone that's a business major parent or something? Okay, no offense, but it's a very simplified way of, it's a very quick and easy way to look at specifications and figure some things out. So here's a blood glucose, a tear glucose sensor that we did, and we actually ran through the specifications up here. You actually put real units and real numbers if you can. It takes qualitative or quantitative data, and you do a transformation on that data to a 0 or a 1. 1 is always the desired, 0 is always the negative. So if smaller is better, you make smaller 1 instead of larger. You can have a graded response, so you can go in decimals or whatever. Once you do that, you plot all your specifications out. Oops, there we go. So we took those specifications and just numbered them 1 through 7. And then you plot your results on the scale, and it should be, there's a boo-boo here, but it should be 0 to 1. What you'll quickly find out is that we're not so good here, and in companies this really happens. If you see a spec list and it's missing a specification in one company and another company has numbers for that specification, they may not even mention that specification on their product sheet. It's because they probably suck butt at it. You know, they're not really good at it, and they're not going to tell you, we really suck at this, come buy our product. You know, what they'll do is they'll tell you that we're pretty good at this, and we're really good at, you know, these 2 specs over here. And so if you looked up a trifold, you know, documentation thing on the product, advertisements, you're going to hear those 2 specifications mostly. So the idea is to make your blue sky or blue ocean diagram is you take those 2 specifications, make a plot from 0 to 1 on one spec and 0 to 1 on the other spec, and you put all this data in there, and you do more than one company. What you'll quickly find out, or you hope to find out, is all these guys are here and you're over here. There's one danger in this. If you're out in the blue ocean or blue sky and you're in a place where there's no market and nobody cares, you want to be very, very careful about that. Tom Prescott came here. If you guys know Invisalign, he's the CEO and founder of Invisalign, and that's not the first product he made. The first one he made, nobody really gave a shit about. He did not go to the customers. He did not involve the dentist. Nobody really cared that he was in a place that nobody else was. You know, that was great, that was wonderful, but he lost a lot of money on that. So you just got to be careful of that. So that's kind of what you'll end up looking like, hopefully. What we want you to do for the design task is to do this for your game. Come up with a bunch of different factors or specifications, evaluate them from 0 to 1, plot them out, and then create your blue ocean diagram with your product against the competition. When we talked about alternative designs, there's a really neat trick in this and House of Qualities. You can always come back and say, you know, maybe when I'm producing this product, this specification was really, really cool in my design, but in my final prototype, it actually sucked butt. It really stinks. It's not as good as I thought it was. What you do is you come back and look for another specification that you're pretty good at. And you know, this is a graded scale of 0 to 1. We just generated it. There's not a lot of reality to that. Reevaluate that specification. Is there anything else that you can do that separates you, you know, and separates you from your competition and makes that product better in another area? You can come up with alternative designs really easily by looking at these things. For the alpha, what we're really looking for is, we'll show you 2 games, 2 versions of the same game actually. See if I can just bring it over. In my infinite wisdom, when I started this class, I wanted to make a really big-ass game. I mean, I wanted everything on the table. I wanted to like take up one of these tables. The idea of one of the specifications I really wanted to do was have a 3-dimensional board game where you could get chased by zombies up into a building and get stuck up there because they're coming after you or doing stuff like that. And you could have like this really crazy play by having a building that goes up and down. Then the other idea was, what was the other thing? Oh, it was the American State University and President Falcon needed saving. Okay, I didn't think I'd get fired over this. Anyway, so there's a few other things we threw into this for a twist. What ended up happening is I created this huge-ass game that had all these components in it, and the first thing Michael Coe came in, he said, you'll never get that made for what you think it's going to cost you. It's going to be about 3 times as much as you think. If you ran a Kickstarter on it, it'll probably, you know, break your bank and anyone else that's involved with you on it. And he says, you're going to have such a learning curve, you're going to get decimated. And I was just like, cool, thanks, dude. It was the first time I met the guy too. I was just like, wow. But I said, okay, what would you do? And he says, well, he goes, look at my game systems. And by that time, he had 3 Kickstarters running. He's now up on like 11, and he's got like a few $1 million through Kickstarter. So this guy is a hit. He said, try and look at something different. Make it small. Make it a different component. So what we came up with was the mini ZombiU. Did you guys get the ZombiU? BME? Okay, anyways. So it does teach about engineering, bioengineering. We made a small rule book. We went to small mini cards, and I did his thing where we used the little wooden meeples. If you guys want to look at it later, I'll show it to you. The one thing that we kept, though, one of the specifications we kept was by laying out the tiles. If you played Tiny Epic Kingdoms or something like that, you know how you have all the different tiles? We have ours are buildings, and what you can do is stagger them, and that represents going up the building. So you can actually still go up a building and get trapped up on the 3rd floor or whatever. So the same game looks very different this way. We priced it out together, he and I, and it, under $20 we could sell it for. The other game, he kind of jokingly told me, prototyping is going to cost you an arm and leg, but you'll probably end up selling that game for over $300, and no one will buy it. And I was just like, wow, okay, cool. But yeah, I still love that thing. It was really cool. That's the problem. But it's the same game, but it's a bona fide alternative design, and it's probably better. That's what you guys want to have for Capstone. When you guys go out in the industry, you start your own company, or you're working for somebody else, they're going to tell you to make something, and they're probably going to tell you, make this thing that's impossible, do it the same way we did and fail, and get it done in half the time with about a quarter of the money that we spent on the original piece of crap. And you're going to be told this time and time again as engineers, and you're just going to sit there and go, and what you got to do when your boss tells you to do something, you do it. In the back of your head, have a backup plan that actually is better. If you can even squeak out a little bit of pilot data, show them that it's better, it's important. So go to your MVP data, your blue ocean diagram, get that one spec, and show them that you can actually do what they want better than they thought. It saves your butt a lot. So again, the alternative designs always have about 3 good factors that you think you can kick butt at. Maybe a 4th one just in case. So yeah, I think I actually picked the numbers right. This is amazing. Groups 11 through 14. This is basically what you're going to be doing, and the other teams will be split this way. So I'll try and leave that. I'll come back to this slide in a second. I don't know if I have any more. While you're cutting, whoever's cutting, you'll have a tool that you guys are all going to get. It has different blocks on it for measuring different things. Kind of take a look at that first before you just jump in and start cutting. Be careful when you're cutting. We had teams, remember I told you guys you're going to be better than Wednesday? So don't cut anything wrong. We had people already chopping through sheets. They're cutting through artwork. Don't do that. Think before you cut. And woodworking, it's measure twice, cut once. There's going to be some issues with this stuff, this material. Write it, keep notes and keep track of that. We also will give you bags, so you'll be able to keep track of all this stuff. The cards, just grab Incursion if you need it and look at it. But when you hold the card this way on the bottom, the I should be, it's written Incursion this way. I is going to be on the bottom. Okay. Let me see. And then next class, we're going to be talking about different types of tools for rapid prototyping and quality control, more about measuring and quantifying. And what you're going to get in your bins, we should have in there already, is a packet of all the material you got to cut up. I did it. It took about an hour and 10 minutes. I think it was Steve and I doing it, so 2 people. You got a rule book that's already printed and stapled. You have your dice. You're going to have one part that's already been cast. With Blake, you'll cast 2 more of them. You should have material to cut out. Oh yeah. When you find your little, we have stand-ins for the miniatures. They were made to be like these print and play things. So they basically make a triangle with 2 little flaps coming underneath. In this version, you can cut off the flaps. But we'll have one version already made that you can look at to get any clarification. When you fold the 2 pieces down, you have an option there. You can fold the piece down and glue it onto the part, and that leaves a band of color on the top, which looks pretty cool. Or some people cut it off. It doesn't matter which way you do it. It's not a big deal. You have three weeks to do this, so move at your own speed. But remember, it's 10% of your grade. See what we can do to put that together. And then, yeah, we got the tool. That tool and this tool can measure anything you need. No. Yeah. So any questions before we dive in, jump in? Okay. If one person from each team, I guess groups 11 through 14 are the people that really need your bin. One person, go ahead and grab that. If anybody's honors, come see me really quick. We'll take care of that. And then split up as you want. Everyone's going to get a chance to do a lot of this, so don't worry. And I think that's it.